Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains in the Missouri Ozarks. On Tuesday, the 5th day of May, year of our Lord 2018, welcome to the John Moore Show. Well, the year is already 1/3 past here, isn't it? How about that? We have open lines this first hour. The call number is 800-313-9443. Second hour, we'll have Leon Green with us. The headline on Drudge right now has to do with the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Netanyahu, revealing the documentation that Iran has been developing nuclear weapons all these years. How about that? No shock, no surprise there, is there? And then another headline is the head of South Korea is proposing that Donald Trump be awarded I almost said Prague Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. I got the Prague Peace Prize, which is kind of ironic because shortly after Hussein Obama took office, he'd only been in office a few weeks, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and hadn't done anything in those first few weeks to help peace or any other time as far as I know. Okay. Prepper tip of the day. It's springtime. Many parts of the country, including where I live, we're getting lots of rain. So the prepper tip of the day is make sure your rain gear is ready for service, ready to be used. So it reminds me of something my drill sergeant told me in basic training half a century ago. He says, young trooper, when you're in the Army, never get wet, never get cold, never get hungry. And those are words to live by. Okay. We're going to talk this morning about one of my favorite topics that I talk about a lot because, well, it's so important because it's radio. We always have new listeners. And even if you've heard this topic before, which if you're a regular listener, you have, it doesn't hurt to hear it again and maybe pick up a little nuance or something you haven't thought about before. That topic, of course, is the electromagnetic pulse. And I should mention my YouTube archives are back up and running as of last night. We're gradually getting them posted, the ones that were missing for the past 3 weeks. My webmaster, Tim Spencer, has been struggling with computer issues these past 3 weeks. They're still not completely resolved, but he's developed workarounds to get everything going there. Electromagnetic pulse. Despite the media attention, it's still a tiny percentage of American adults who actually know what EMP is, as opposed to kind of sort of hearing about it, like my local sheriff. There's two forms of this. The natural form, which comes from our sun, coronal mass ejections, and the man-made form, which our main concern there would be nuclear weapons set off in space. There's other ways it can be done by human beings. In fact, the EMP pulse can be set off with conventional explosives. Doesn't even need to be nuclear devices. In fact, one of the magazines, and I always forget if it's Popular Science or Popular Mechanics, is one of those two. About 15, 16 years ago, ran an article on giving a rough outline on how to fabricate an EMP device using conventional explosives like dynamite, for example. It would be powerful to take out maybe a city block, maybe 2 or 3 city blocks. That's how powerful that pulse would be. We're not going to really get into that. In the modern age, and I'm including 1859 in the modern age, we had a coronal mass ejection. It's come to be known as the Carrington event, 1859, that hit North America with a vengeance. Now, electricity in 1859 was pretty much restricted to university laboratories. There was a lot of experimentation going on with electricity. So we didn't have a power grid. What we did have, however, east of the Mississippi primarily, was a pretty complete and pretty widespread telegraph system. Now, these wires connecting all the telegraph offices east of the Mississippi acted as antennas to collect the energy from the coronal mass ejection, direct that energy into the telegraph offices where they set fires. We had barbed wire fences. The barbed wire fences collected energy and started fires in the fields. It's been said by the scientists who understand this that a similar event today would knock out the power for at least half the planet, possibly the entire planet. It could be that powerful because coronal mass ejections can do something that EMP can't do. That's go around the curvature of the Earth. And for you folks out there who believe the Earth is flat, well, just get over it. I have friends that believe that, and God bless them. They think that when I told them the following, this is kind of a segue here I know. I said, there's thousands, tens of thousands of pilots all over this planet, and they nod their heads in agreement. In order for this to be true, all these pilots would have to be in on the secret and agree to keep the secret from everybody else, and they nodded their heads in agreement. In addition, all the charts they had would have to be two charts, one to fool the public, and another set of charts that were the real charts for the flat planet. And once again, they nodded their heads in agreement. It's a very bizarre way of theory, I should say, that is easily disproved. Okay, getting back to the topic. Coronal mass ejection. We had a very powerful one. I don't have that off the top of my head how powerful. In 2012, that just barely missed planet Earth. It is inevitable, according to scientists who understand these matters. It is inevitable that a powerful coronal mass ejection will hit planet Earth. It could be next week. It could be next month. It could be 10 years in the future. That is inevitable. It will happen. It's just a matter of percentage odds building up in favor of that happening. And the other form of EMP is, as I mentioned, is caused by a nuclear device being set off in space. It could be 20 miles up, 50 miles up, 100 miles up. The higher it is and the more powerful it is, the more bang they get for their buck. The experts who've looked into this believe the most effective way to do this would be to take out North America, would be 4 devices, one over each time zone. Now, just one over Kansas, which is about the middle of the country, would take out most of the country, most of the lower 48. Now, there's 2 North Korean satellites that go over North America every 12 hours, twice a day. And the former director of the CIA revealed publicly last September that both satellites have nuclear devices on board. It's also been verified that there's no signals coming from either one of these satellites. Typically, satellites are put up for communications purposes, and they send and receive data. Well, it's not happening with either one of these 2 satellites. A simple way to accomplish the same goal, I've mentioned this publicly, it's just no secret, it's not high-tech, it's low-tech, would be to take 1 or more nuclear devices and weather balloons. And weather balloons could lift that payload up high enough, say 20 miles up or so, to get a pretty good effect there. Weather balloons could be released onshore, let's say 1 in Boston, maybe 1 over New York, 1 over Washington, D.C. Get some good coverage there where 85 million people live. Our defense systems are set up to monitor and look for missiles coming at us, aircraft coming at us. A weather balloon is not going to get very much attention from NORAD. It simply won't. It may get some attention, but not much attention. One set up over Houston, Texas. They don't have to be on land. A ocean-going ship, cargo ship, even a good-sized passenger ship could do this. Off the coast in the Gulf of Mexico. I believe once you're 12 miles away from the United States, you're in international waters. Release that weather balloon with a nuclear device, get it up there about 20 miles, and push the button. Are there people that want to hurt us? Yes, there are people that want to hurt us. How many times have the people that run the country of Iran said they want to destroy the United States? Who's keeping track of that? I'm not. I don't trust Kim Jong-un any farther than I could throw that chubby little guy. Or the Communist Chinese, or the Russians, any of them, all of which have that capability. The focus on missiles is wrong, wrong, wrong. You don't need missiles. All you need is weather balloons. This country is very porous. Drug cartels routinely bring in cocaine, heroin, things of that nature by the ton every year. Of course, a foreign intelligence service could bring nuclear weapons in here. Of course, they could do that. They don't even need to, as I just mentioned. Merchant vessels in international waters could launch weather balloons with nuclear devices. If they did it off the west coast, international waters, they could launch several there, and they would drift east because that's the natural course of the winds. Off the east coast, well, they wouldn't want them to drift east over the Atlantic. They'd probably set them off relatively quickly before they got too far east to get the maximum effect. Nothing you can do or I can do to stop it. What we can do is lobby our governors, our state and legislators to protect these individual state power grids. Dr. Peter Pry, his report, the report written by the committee appointed by government engineers and scientists, that's a free download at my website, by the way, at thelibertyman.com. Let's scroll down here. I believe it's on the left side. Yeah, it's just to the left of the video, the John Wayne video of 1970 variety show. EMP Commission Executive Report. The little video about cancer there is just to the right of that also. You need to read that report. You need to educate yourself. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of the qualified scientists and engineers. What am I? I'm a homicide detective. I'm no engineer. I'm no scientist. Well, I'm a pretty smart fellow, and I can read this stuff and understand it, and you are too. Listeners to the John Moore Show are very bright men and women that actually do read books. This is just a couple hundred pages. Now keep in mind one caveat. This is an important one. When I read it, I was so happy that my Lincoln Town Car would probably still run. Well, they didn't have the money to properly test modern cars and trucks. They were given instructions to run low-grade pulses against these vehicles so that they could be easily repaired and resold on the market. So that's what they did. What we believe is that a full-strength pulse would knock out almost all vehicles made after 1972. 1972 was the last year that these motor vehicles did not have electronic ignitions. Now, granted, those first few years, especially the first 10, they were rather primitive and simple compared to today, but still they were electronic. So if having transportation, a motor vehicle transportation is something you want a motor vehicle built model year 1972 or earlier, you're also going to want a generator instead of an alternator. Generators are more resistant to EMP, alternators are less resistant to EMP. You have to go back to the mid to late 60s to go back to cars that had both a generator and no electronic ignition. And they're out there. You may run across some real upscale collector's models that you pay a premium price for, but I would look first at trucks, quite frankly. Trucks, just plain old pickup trucks and flatbed trucks, nothing exotic or simple or complex. Just plain old pickup trucks and flatbed trucks that are used by farmers and construction workers. Of course, the main problem with motor vehicles is fuel. Whatever fuel you got may be all the fuel you ever have. Of course, for a period of time, there'll be lots of free fuel in the millions of motor vehicles that will never run again all over the country that can be harvested. That would run out fairly quickly, too. The refineries would be toast probably for years. I don't know. In fact, I know an engineer that I could talk to. She's recently retired from that industry. Very high-level engineer, worked in the oil refinery business. I could talk to her to find out if there's been any plans made to put these refineries back in service after EMP. I strongly doubt it. I would be pleasantly surprised and shocked both if the petroleum industry had done that. It's highly, highly unlikely. Official estimates, government estimates, within the first 12 months of a nationwide EMP, and when I say nationwide, the lower 48, not counting Alaska or Hawaii, official estimates are that 9 out of 10 Americans would be dead by the end of the first year. The kill-off would begin immediately, instantly. Instantly, people would die. Anybody that has a machine to keep them alive, they'd be dead. Pacemakers, maybe not. That's an unknown. It depends on the pacemaker. It depends on how strong the pulse is and where the person is when the pulse happens. If they're in a metal building that's grounded, they may survive it. First 8 weeks, almost everybody who needs a prescription medication to stay alive, they'll be dead. That's tens of millions of Americans right there. When the water treatment plants stop functioning, well, it's going to be more tens of millions of Americans. That first drink you take of bad water will be a one-way ticket to diarrhea, dehydration, and death. And you will drink the bad water. If you're thirsty enough, you will drink the bad water. Most Americans have never experienced extreme thirst. I've been close a couple of times, and you can get pretty desperate pretty quick. Starvation will not kill as many people as lack of meds and lack of clean water, but it will kill, once again, tens of millions of people. It's a long list of things that will cause fatalities. Going back to the 1890s, without the infrastructure of the 1890s, that's what we're looking at. So who's going to survive this? Well, the most survivors are going to be relatively healthy men and women between 16 and 25 years old, at the peak of their health, at the peak of their athletic performance. Just because they're stronger and healthier going into this is going to increase their rates of survival. Of course it will. The infant children of those people will be more likely to survive because these healthy young people will have more strength and more ability to get resources to keep their infant children alive. Who's going to die off? Well, it's going to cut across race, economics, health, wealth, all those things. Most of them won't matter as far as who's going to live and who's going to die. I did a presentation on this. It's been, I guess, about 8 to 10 years ago. I have to look it up. I was at the home of the former president of the Bank of the Philippines, just outside Manila, extreme Manila suburb. Very nice gated community, about 3,000, 4,000 feet above sea level. Very pleasant place. We were on a veranda, a screened veranda overlooking the ocean there. There were these beautiful islands off in the distance. And my guests, my hosts, I should say, and the other guests, myself and my buddy, we're the only two Caucasians there. The rest were all native-born Filipinos. Very bright, very well-educated, spoke English better than some of my hillbilly neighbors, by the way. When I finished up my presentation, one of them asked me, "John, who's going to survive this?" I stood up and I pointed at one of the islands. I said, "You see that island over there?" They all nodded, yeah. "I'll tell you who's going to survive it. The barefoot peasants on that island who have cast iron cook pots, little huts they built out of banana leaves and bamboo, and not much else, because their lives aren't going to change. That's who's going to survive this." Now, the people I was talking to were very upper class, wealthy people. You don't know what wealth is till you've been around folks at this level. Seriously. Where you could grow up in a very nice home and reach your 18th birthday and never set foot in your own kitchen. Drive a motor vehicle? Why would you ever do that? The development where this home was had 9 restaurants, 3 golf courses. You get the picture. The guards at the gate, I mean, these were real guards. These guys had submachine guns. Not some rent-a-cop. These guys were all paramilitary with submachine guns. And the place was immaculate. 40 acres of homes that look like Swiss chalets. 40 acres of homes that look like Spanish haciendas. 40 acres of homes that look like suburban American homes. Very nice. And these people all figured out real quick. These are bright, educated people that once that entire lifestyle was based on 2 things. Electronic impulses on a hard drive at their bank, which designated their wealth, and electricity. Once the electronic impulses that designate their wealth on a hard drive at a bank go away, and the electricity itself goes away, their very luxurious lifestyle goes away also. These are bright people. They understood this immediately. I haven't been back in touch with these folks. I didn't, and they haven't contacted me. I hope I had some positive impact on them, because these are people who were on a first-name basis with the president of the country, the leaders of the country, and so forth. I hope I had some positive impact there. I don't know. I may never know. I haven't been invited back. I would go in a heartbeat. I love the country. It reminds me of Vietnam, another beautiful country that I love. In fact, a lot of, up until recently, Vietnam War films were shot in the Philippines because there's so many similarities between the cultures, the climate, the topography, the jungles and everything. And don't fool yourself. The Philippines has some very, very serious jungles. In this country, your best odds of survival, in my opinion, would be on a hobby farm, self-sufficient hobby farm. I'll define that in a little bit here. At a distance, preferably a real good distance from a major city, where your people on your hobby farm are all integrated and part of a larger community. In your township, your town, your township, your county. That's the ideal way to survive this, in my opinion, based on everything I know. A hobby farm, as opposed to a commercial farm. Typically, a commercial farm will have one, maybe two or three products that they cultivate, harvest, and sell as a business. It could be milk, it could be beef, it could be corn, it could be honey, it could be a number of things. A hobby farm, what's produced there is meant primarily for consumption by the people that work there. They may have one thing they pick out for a cash crop, while at the same time having a very extensive garden with fruits and vegetables, maybe a milk cow, maybe a goat for goat milk, maybe some goats for meat also. I'm no farmer, don't pretend to be. I have heard from people who are farmers, however, that goats are the most productive farm animal there is in terms of what you get for what it costs you. Here's our break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our Energy Cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the Energy Cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the Energy Cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 5th day of May. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Lots of interesting things there. Articles that will inform you, articles that will educate you, entertain, possibly make you upset. A lot there. Under John's Survival and Tactical here, we have a couple of 100 different items for sale. These are mostly Amazon items, the kind of things that if John Moore was going to have a yard sale, these are the items I would have in my yard sale. Great way to equip yourself, by the way. Also, if you need a private consultation, or if you'd like me to come to your community and do a speaking engagement in your community, well, the details are there at my website under professional consultations and keynote presentations. I just found out this morning that the Prague event will be postponed for at least 8 or 9 months into the future. possibly a year into the future. So it'll be at least that long before I go back to Prague, Czech Republic. But if you want me to come to your community, all the details on how to make that happen are at my website under professional consultations and keynote presentations. Okay, also on our website, of course, you'll find energy cleaner for sale. My friend Tom Berryhill is a manufacturer. He worked with the inventor, Lee Kroc, to develop the energy cleaner and make it a marketable, commercially viable product. If you have issues with pain, it could be joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, the energy cleaner will probably help. Not getting a great night's sleep, the energy cleaner will probably help there also. Are you risking anything when you buy an energy cleaner from John Moore? No, you're not, because I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. 90 days, that's 3 months to check it out and make sure it works for you. Most people these days are getting a factory-made fitted mattress pad to go with the energy cleaner. It's a great combination. You should check that out also. All the details are at my website at thelibertyman.com, where you can make your purchase using PayPal. PayPal is wonderful. It's the most secure, safest way to make any purchase online. I use PayPal all the time. Once you get used to it, you'll like it also. You need to send me a check or a money order. My address is at my website also at thelibertyman.com. My toll-free hour line, 24 hours a day, here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Taking your questions, calls, and comments here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. I had coffee with a neighbor, a friend of mine. He comes to movie night every Friday. He's retired. He was a factory worker and a very high-level union representative before his retirement. He doesn't have internet service, wouldn't have a clue what to do with a computer. But he's a bright guy, and he understands how the world works. He's now a cattle rancher and does construction work. And he found out about EMP about 3 years ago. He's talking over with some of the other cattle ranchers in the neighborhood. And once they began to comprehend what EMP is, what it can do, they began their own preparations. They asked me to help as their advisor. I've been advising these men now this is the third year. And it's been a lot of fun working with these men and helping them to get prepared. These men live and work in my neighborhood, Davisville, Missouri. And anything I can do that helps my neighbors also helps me. The more prepared the neighborhood is, the safer my family is. That's a true statement. In case you don't understand it, you need to. The more prepared your neighborhood is, the better off you are. Will an EMP happen? Well, it's inevitable that we'll get hit at some point by coronal mass ejection. That's a given. Just when it's going to happen, well, we simply don't know, do we? Will we have an EMP attack? I'd say it's one of the more likely things to happen. If you haven't been listening to Jeff Nyquist with me here, the second hour on Wednesdays, you need to be listening to Jeff. We don't have any archives posted for the last several weeks, I don't believe, but he's been on now for about 2 months. Wednesday's the second hour. And it's a college-level dissertation on geopolitical matters, especially the nuances of the international communist conspiracy and what their goals are, which haven't changed in over a century, by the way. Domination of the world. Economically, culturally, politically, militarily. That's their goal. And they can't achieve that unless the United States, as we know it, is destroyed. They can't. They won't. So you need to understand that. And that's what makes the threat of EMP, makes it viable. Makes it a real, clear and present danger, in my opinion, is the international communist threat. And don't forget that the Muslim leadership is working with the communists to achieve goals. And they have a mutual goal of destroying the United States. So that adds a little more fuel to the fire there, doesn't it? Starting a hobby farm, even if you're a farmer, is a daunting task. If you're not a farmer, you grew up in a city like I did, it can be quite a learning curve. That first year, you may get a few vegetables that you can eat, maybe some fruit off a like strawberry, something like that. Fruit trees take several years to be planted and mature to the point where they're bearing fruit. The second year, you'll have more production. By the third year, you may be feeding your family maybe half their needs. Yeah, that's all. There's a lot of different outcomes here. Everybody's going to have their own outcome. A lot of moving pieces here. How much energy you've got, the land you're trying to grow fruits and vegetables on, the rainfall, your expertise, the access to mechanized equipment that you've got or don't have. A lot of moving pieces here. It's going to determine what you get for production and how quickly. My rule of thumb is generally it takes at least 3 years to establish a hobby farm that can produce food to feed the people that are living there. It could be 2 years, it could be 4 years, but 3 years is a fairly good goal, I would say. A fairly good goal. There's lots to this, and having money helps, but it doesn't speed things up all that much, if at all. It's mostly going to be your individual labor and sweat is what's going to make this happen. And the knowledge you bring from learning. You can learn about gardening from books, from videos, from going to seminars, talking to your neighbors who garden. Your neighbors who garden are a wealth of knowledge. They have firsthand experience in your neighborhood dealing with your specific climate. That's extremely valuable. And whatever it takes to get that knowledge, I would certainly go about the business of doing it. You need that knowledge. The time to get started? Well, how about yesterday? People always say, and I get out and I do these presentations, John, when's it going to happen? When's it? Well, in this case, EMP, I don't know if or when EMP would ever happen. I know it could happen. It's more likely to happen than many other things. It certainly would accomplish the goal of the communists with a minimum exposure on their part to losing people, losing the national wealth of people and resources, money, minimal expenditure on their part, especially if they could pull it off and remain anonymous or blame it on somebody else. That would be the same thing, wouldn't it? I'm not saying it's easy. Far, far from it. It's not easy to start a hobby farm. There's expense, there's work, there's time, a change in lifestyle, maybe a change in employment. In the modern age, there's opportunities we didn't have even 15 or 20 years ago with internet, especially if your hobby farm would be located in a place where you can get high-speed internet. That opens up employment opportunities and business opportunities for people that simply did not exist 20 years ago, 25 years ago. We had internet 20 years ago. 1998, of course we did. It wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now, but it did exist, and it was in daily use. 25 years ago? No, I don't think so. No, the internet was did exist, but almost nobody took part in the internet back then. It's a major decision. You need to, and you want to get it right the first time. If you're considering moving to the Arkansas, Missouri Ozarks, whatever community you just think you might want to move to, I'd say spend at least a week there, a week at a minimum. 2 weeks would be even better. You get to know the lay of the land, the local culture, the people, what amenities there are that you think you need to have access to, healthcare, education, shopping, cultural events, whatever it might be. Now, where I live in Davisville, we have to travel to participate in anything. The 6.5 mile drive one way to pick up my mail. 12.5 miles one way to get a gallon of gasoline or go to a supermarket. If I want to go to any place where there's more serious shopping, such as Walmart, looking at 45 minutes one way. Now that's just part of the lifestyle out there. It's an accepted, normal part of the lifestyle. Get used to it. This is not all that unusual for the Arkansas, Missouri Ozarks. Now you can live closer to a town. Of course you could. I just happened to end up where I ended up. And these small towns, they will take care of themselves. These people all know each other. Many of them are related by blood and marriage. They went to high school together. The culture of these small towns is unique. And I really didn't understand it until I moved out there and became part of it. And I'm still learning the nuances of small town America. Your business is everybody's business. Get over it. I walk into a Walmart a 45-minute drive away. There's just 3 of them within 45-minute drives. One northeast, one northwest, and one southwest. I'm not there 5 or 10 minutes before people are saying, "Hi, John." Very frequently, I don't have a clue who these people are. I've been a very public person out there where I live. I'm now an elected member of the county, very low level. I am the Republican committeeman for my township. And so I've been very active with my concealed carry classes and various cultural events that I participate in. Going to church. And I've attended church at several of the churches around the area. At least 4 or 5 different churches that I can think of, maybe 6. You need to do the same thing. If you move to a small community, you need to become part of the community so that the community leadership knows who you are, that you're a solid, dependable person that can be counted on, maybe counted on to sell tickets for the local Lions Club event, or maybe help out during a flood or a tornado. Being a known, dependable person in the community is very helpful and very good for you and for everybody. It's extremely important. The Arkansas, Missouri Ozarks has been designated by the U.S. Navy more than 30 years ago as one of the known safe havens for the following reason: altitude above sea level, distance from major bodies of water, a relatively short, relatively mild winter, more water than we know what to do with. There's more bridges between the Arkansas border and the Missouri River in Missouri than there is in any state in the United States. We have so many creeks and rivers. More bridges than any state in the United States, and just half the state of Missouri, the Ozark side of the state. A very homogeneous population. A population that knows that God's gift to mankind is hunting and fishing, which are the 2 most popular sports of recreation in the Arkansas, Missouri Ozarks. All these things combined, a low population density, did I forget to mention that? Very low population density for a number of reasons. For all these reasons, U.S. Navy designated the Arkansas, Missouri Ozarks as a safe haven more than 30 years ago, going back to about 1979, as far back as I can trace it, when they started doing these briefings. The briefings about rising ocean levels, classified briefings. I've debriefed more than 24 Navy vets, most of them submarine veterans, by the way. They were at these classified briefings, being told that, gentlemen, in your lifetimes, these oceans will come out of their basins, flooding all coastal areas worldwide. And by the way, there's going to be a new inland sea in the Mississippi River Valley. And also, by the way, the weight of that water on the New Madrid seismic zone will trigger at least 3 9-point plus earthquakes. That's what these men were told, going back to 1979. Here's our break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 1st day of May. I believe we have a caller on hold here. Dan in Hawaii. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, John. Thank you. John, I've got a book here that I got back in the 70s. I've had it all this time, called the Comfrey Report. And so I go back quite a ways going Comfrey. I've got some information on comfrey and 2 other plants that are really super high in protein. I think most people don't realize the amount of protein in these plants. One is comfrey. We're looking at about 34% protein.
That's incredibly high. I think wheat is normally harvest wheat now is running about 9%. Yeah.
And this is a complete protein. It's got tryptophan and all the main aspects that you need for a complete protein. Now that's 34% for comfrey. That's either eating the leaves. Now I chop the leaves up really, really fine. I almost garnish them, and I just add it to my soups. If you don't chop it up and just eat it like in a salad or something, it's got kind of a gamey taste. But I found that cooked in a soup, it's quite good. It's okay. I've also wanted to recommend lima beans. They're 21%. Now, I grow a lima bean called King of the Garden. There's various companies that sell them. And that's a gigantic plant, actually, and with arms that can be 10, 12 feet long. There might be 4 or 5 arms per plant. And that's the one I prefer. And you get an incredible yield from the King of the Garden lima bean. And again, that's about 21% complete protein. And then lentils are 24%. And split peas are about 18%. So I wanted to share that with you.
Well, appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. That's very helpful.
Yeah, can I say one more thing?
Please do. Yes, we're almost out of time this hour. Go ahead.
Okay. You were talking about EMP, and I'm glad that you get on that subject so often. Learn quite a bit from you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I heard this being talked about in the control room of my boat when I was in the Navy, and this goes back 50 years ago. They were talking about this, so they've known about this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
These were the officers, and some of the brightest men I've ever known. Control room. Certainly possible, and I think that due to the possibility of this event occurring at some point, I think it's a real good idea to actually test your home out occasionally.
That's right. It is. Thanks for the call, sir. We're out of time this hour. Appreciate it. We'll be back after the top of the hour break. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Tuesday, the first day of May. The perfect tip of the day, it's springtime. I wanted you to make sure that your rain gear is ready for service. You're probably going to want maybe 2 or 3 different kinds of rain gear. Rain gear suitable for out and about around town, which would be a good quality raincoat. Rain gear for working around the farm or the ranch, which would be really heavy-duty rain gear that like carpenters, or I should say construction workers and farmers and ranchers wear. And possibly a military issue poncho for being out in the bush. Make sure you have all these items, that they're in good condition and ready to go. That's your prepper tip of the day. Our second hour here, we got a holdover from last hour caller. We haven't had Leon Green call in yet. So we'll get to our holdover call from last hour. That's Glenn in Philadelphia. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, John. Hi. Nice to have a little chunk of time here to wedge my call in. Just a little addendum to your previous caller talking about vegetables and protein content and stuff like that. There's no one plant source that contains all the necessary amino acids for protein. So vegans, the way you fix that is by eating a variety of different vegetable foods. And if this food doesn't have a certain amino acid, then another one might. So that's why you see combinations like rice and beans and things like that to achieve complete protein. But some plant sources have more amino acids than others. So, yeah, that's some interesting stuff. He was talking about lima beans and lentils and stuff like that. But the variety is always the spice of life when it comes to making complete protein. And the original reason I called was to talk about, to mention what's going on with North and South Korea. You may recall me harping in recent months, saying at the height of the saber rattling, how there could be no attack on North Korea because of the close physical proximity, geographic proximity of Pyongyang, North Korea, and Seoul, South Korea, that any attack would result in such a horrific number of deaths that any nation that initiated or exacerbated such a conflict would become a pariah in the eyes of the world. And lo and behold, here we are months later on the verge of Moon and Kim, signing an accord to end the 60-year-old Korean War, which is wonderful. And we've got Senator Lindsey Graham and other people in Moon talking about President Trump being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, which he will have actually earned, as opposed to the one that was awarded to Obama.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the Nobel Peace Prize should go to people who actually did something to encourage or move forward international peace, which is exactly what's taking place here.
Right. I mean, it's really quite amazing. It's the war for which my father, who is now 89 years old, was drafted. So he went to West Germany with the National Guard unit as opposed to Korea, but he did know people who ended up in Korea and were lost in that war. So
absolutely.
Hear my thoughts. But one last quick zinger here, John. If I take one of your firearms classes and we're doing some shooting on the range, and I said I needed to put a fresh clip in my 1911, and you corrected me and said, it's not called a clip, it's a magazine. And I said, okay, I know it's called a magazine, but I'm going to continue calling it a clip. What would that say about my ego? Well,
I don't know if it's ego related as much as being stubborn.
Yep, I think you know what I'm getting at there. But anyway, in terms of things like where the proof is, whether it's in the pudding or in the eating. Anyway, John. All right. Well, thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. What Glenn was talking about is a common mistake that people make is call a magazine a clip, and there are in fact clips that hold cartridges, and they're more properly called stripper clips. It's a flat, thin piece of metal that you can attach the cartridges to it so that you can load the cartridges into a magazine or a freestanding magazine that you would then put into the firearm, or load into a internal magazine of a rifle or some of these antique pistols. The Mauser pistols made more than a century ago, they had an internal magazine that was loaded with a stripper clip. A little nuance of the gun culture, but an important one. It's important to understand what these things are properly called. Okay. Well, Leon hasn't called. We don't know what his status is, and we will continue with open lines here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. Okay. Well, I'm getting a note from my engineer that Leon is not available at the moment. That if that changes, we'll bring Leon on board. It's always fun to visit with Leon. As Leon sometimes says, brothers from different mothers. We have so many similarities in our bio. Both military veterans, both private detectives, both now involved with doTERRA essential oils. Hobby farms. Now, my friend Tim Spencer has a radio show every Saturday here in Republic Broadcasting from 10 a.m. till noon Central Time. And he has a website, ruralsurvival.info. Ruralsurvival.info. And he and his family have been operating a hobby farm for, about 30 years or so. And they're still learning. They like horses. These folks are all Native Americans, by the way. And they like horses, so they've had horses on the premises most of that time, along with their garden and all the fruits and vegetables that they raise, the children that they raise. Tim raised his children there, and now one of his children, his daughter, is raising her family there on the premises. I think she has 3 boys, if I'm not mistaken. It's a good lifestyle. It's a healthy lifestyle. And one that people need to be aware of, I think, and if they choose to participate in it, that they should do that. Tim's website, ruralsurvival.info, is a great place to help you get information you need to become a person running a hobby farm. There's a lot to it, a lot of skills you're going to need to learn, some at a higher level than others, but obviously gardening is going to be one of those basic skills. Animal husbandry, another one. In addition, you'll be learning carpentry, plumbing, electrical work, mechanical work, painting, all kinds of skills. Skills that are routinely performed around ranches and farms all over this country 7 days a week. You won't be able, unless you're independently wealthy, you won't be able to hire people to do these things for you. You'll be doing them yourself. And it's a matter of pride. I know that my neighbors who are ranchers, it's a matter of personal pride that if a tractor needs repair, that they repair it themselves. Or they have another neighbor who has mechanical skills that they don't to do the repairs for them. To actually take the tractor into the dealer is almost a matter of shame. Not quite, but almost a matter of shame. These ranchers, these farmers, are very bright men and women. Many of them these days have college educations. Many of them have internet access. They have skills that city people can only guess at. Majority of city suburban dwellers have highly specialized skills. The majority of them. Now, especially once you are talking about men and women under age 50. Men and women over age 50 are more likely to have a variety of skills than men and women under age 50. For a lot of reasons, which I won't go into. You probably know them yourself. All these skills have to be backed up with tools, equipment, and spare parts. Otherwise, the skills won't do any good. The hobby farm should have a stock of tools, equipment, spare parts that can carry them years into the future. Obviously, things like oil and oil filters and fan belts, things of that nature for cars, trucks, tractors. Routine maintenance stuff people may not think about. Just because the world has collapsed doesn't mean the oil doesn't need to be changed on that car or truck or tractor. The oil's still going to need to be changed. They need new oil filters, new air filters, new fuel filters. All those things continue to be issues. Having those things in stock before the event could make a huge difference, couldn't it? If going to town means running a armed convoy for 17 miles, you're not going to be going to town very often, and only when you have no choice. That would not be a fun way to live, but if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. These events are not fun to think about. Not at all. A lot of people just outright reject even the possibility that these things could happen. It's just too much. Others jump into it with both feet. Others kind of dip their toe into it. These are talking about human beings here and human responses to this information. It's always going to be a mixed bag. That's just the nature of human beings being human beings. That's a given. Now, I have a unique perspective on this in several different ways. First of all, being a combat veteran in Vietnam, I've seen firsthand what can happen when a society falls apart. Being a criminal defense investigator since 1973 has put me in positions of meeting and talking to hundreds of criminals, from people who committed minor crimes because they were intoxicated to people who committed murder. And occasionally, not frequently, but occasionally, I've asked these criminals, in the confidence of our relationship where I'm part of the defense team, sir, tell me, what would you do if there was a major flood or earthquake or tornado? And these men, they look me straight in the eye and they say, John, we look at it as economic opportunity. That's exactly how they think. And guess what economic opportunity is? Your home, your business. Or maybe the opportunity to kidnap your teenage daughter, or daughters, plural, to have their way with them. I did a preparedness presentation at the home of a friend of mine. This is 14, 15 years ago. And these were all very politically liberal people that did not believe that anybody should own firearms. That kind of, the kind of person I'm talking about. But they were good people and hardworking and dedicated to their families and so forth. It was husbands and wives, about 6 or 8 couples. And we're talking about earthquake preparedness, is basically what the topic was. And I got to the part about defending the home, the family, against predators, against criminals, and suggesting that they be well armed and trained in the use of those arms to defend the lives of their daughters and wives. These men got this very concerned, fearful look on their face, and one of them asked, "John, can we use pellet rifles?" I looked at him like he had two heads. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say it out loud, are you an idiot? You're going to protect the life of your wife and teenage daughter with a pellet rifle? Are you a complete blabbering idiot and fool? I didn't do that. I was more polite in my response, basically telling them, well, I don't think that's going to be effective. When you get 2 or 3 intoxicated men that are armed that want to take your teenage daughter, I don't believe a pellet rifle is going to cut it. I doubt that any of these men paid heed to my advice. I knew those men then. I know them now. We don't have a close relationship, but I know who they are, and I really doubt that their belief system has changed. I came to the conclusion quite a few years ago that anti-gun liberals give equal value to the life of the criminal who wants to kidnap their teenage daughter as they do to a normal person. That's why they cannot and will not use deadly force to defend the life of their teenage daughter. It's because they give equal value to the life of the criminal rapist as they do to normal people. I don't. I hope most of you don't. I hope all of you don't give equal value to the life of the criminal rapist as you do normal people. I'm not sure. I'm no psychologist. We all, Americans, we like to be amateur psychologists. I know it's part of our culture. I can't tell you why. I can tell you it is the way a percentage of people believe. And there are certainly geographical areas where more of these people concentrated than others, such as California, for example, Denver, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C. There's concentration of these people, and let them hang together. That's as far as I'm concerned. They're welcome to it. There's one family in my neighborhood who doesn't own any firearms, and I was talking to the husband and wife, and the wife was talking about the new alarm system she's got. How she can talk to them with a speaker and let them know the police are on the way. Here's our break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at the All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the first day of May. At my website, you'll find on the right-hand side there, my homepage at thelibertyman.com, field training exercise, USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. I list 5 different scenarios there. Here's the first one: economic collapse leading civil disorder. Number 2, World War III. The third one, rapid onset violent earth changes. The fourth one, widespread terrorist attacks. And last but not least, 5, natural or man-made EMP. Listeners to the John Moore Show, many are interested in preparedness. Many have different concerns. Many are searching for a date. John, when's it going to happen? I've come to understand and realize that the people searching for a date are the ones who aren't prepared. It's a rare occasion that people who are living a day-to-day lifestyle of preparedness, like my friend Tim Spencer at his hobby farm, he has no concern about a date. A date has no relevance to him. A date has no relevance to myself either. A date was not going to change anything I'm doing or have done or will do. No. And once you're living a life of preparedness, when you get up in the morning, 7 days a week, you do something. You do one thing that moves you forward towards preparedness. Just one thing. They do start adding up pretty darn quick. At some point, you also will not be concerned about a date. It's a good place to be. It's a healthy place to be, by the way. So after I list those 5 scenarios, I go to John's advice. Number 1, get your spiritual house in order. Now, as you know, because I mentioned earlier in the show, I do private consultations. I've had very wealthy clients, and I've had clients who could barely scrape together my fee for the consultation, and people in between. One wealthy young man I know, he could buy a semi-tractor trailer full of freeze-dried food if he chose to. Buy pretty much anything he wants to buy, on one hand. On the other, because his spiritual house is not in order, he will never have peace of mind. His heart will never be at peace. So whatever it takes to get your spiritual house in order, that's what you need to do. That's number 1. Number 2, acquire the skills that you will need. Now, if you have a group of 6 or 600, there's going to be dozens of excellent skills, all kinds of skills. There's 2 skills, however, that will be in biggest demand in short supply. Here's those 2 skills: emergency healthcare skills, health treatment skills, and ham radio skills. If you acquire one or both of those, you'll make yourself more valuable to your team, no matter the size of your team. Number 3, establish and work with your team. You need a team. It's either going to be related by blood or marriage, or friends you've had for years, maybe people you went to high school with or college, co-workers, people you're with in the military, people you know and trust implicitly. Last but not least, in this section, number 4, establish your safe haven. You need a safe haven. Hopefully it'll be a hobby farm. It may be something else, but hopefully it'll be a hobby farm. That's what your goal should be. Then I go on to list some things to do. Hey, get yourself a spiral notebook. Just like you had in high school. A spiral notebook. Dedicate 1 page to your list of things to do, and then dedicate 1 page to each of those things on the list. That's what works for me. No batteries, nothing that can get messed up by dropping it. Make a master list of all your goals in that spiral book. Like I said, dedicate 1 page to each goal, and then check off each goal from that master list as you accomplish them. I did this in 1998, 1999, working up to Y2K, and it was a good project, a good training exercise. Y2K was a man-made problem that did, in fact, have a man-made solution, and they fixed it. They bought 10 years worth of computers in 1 year, basically is what happened. We got the bottom of the hour break coming up here. I know you're probably sitting there with some questions. Give us a call at 800-313-9443. Be glad to take those questions on. And, there's after bottom of the hour break, I'm going to do a segue into a book I want to talk about here. A very, very important book that I think could change a lot of people's lives in a very positive way. The title of the book is The Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier. Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier, which will, in about 7 years, will be a century old. Here's our break. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the first day of May. How about that? First day of May. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. I know a lot of you, I get phone calls and emails. John, when are you going to come speak to XYZ community? Well, my response usually is, well, when you set up the event, I will come. If you've never done event organizing, it's a skill like any other skill. Finding the venue, promoting the event, and so forth. It could be a family event. You don't need to have it open to the public. It could be based out of your church, maybe your company, maybe a civic organization could sponsor it. I'd be glad to help you put this together if you want. And I like getting out these events. I'm sitting here in the Ozarks talking to 4,000 or 5,000 people, but I can't see any of them right now. It's real helpful for me to have a live audience to see what's on people's minds and get some feedback from a live audience. So under John's professional consultations and keynote presentations, you'll get all the details on how to make that happen. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners for sale. This is my home business. When you place your order for an energy cleaner, I'm the guy that boxes them up. I take them to the little country post office at Cherryville, Missouri, where you can get, I had breakfast there the other morning, a Western omelet, all the coffee I could drink, less than $5. How about that? The energy cleaner will help you mitigate pain. It could be arthritis pain. Almost without exception, people with arthritis pain get relief. almost without exception. Joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. It will probably help. Not getting a great night's sleep, well, when you sleep is when you heal. Get yourself an energy cleaner. $285 shipping included, American zip codes. And, of course, the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with it, well, that's a good combination. You need to check it out at thelibertyman.com. I do take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. PayPal is great. I really like PayPal. They now take payments. If you need to make payments, spread that dollar amount out over a few months. My address is at my website if you need to send me something in the mail, a check or a money order. And I have a toll-free auto line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Taking questions, calls, and comments at Republic Broadcasting. The call number is 800-313-9443. And we have Mark in Philadelphia. Good morning, Mark.
Hello, John. I wanted to bring up something that I brought up to you before. It was some time ago, actually. If you remember when I called in one time about the firearms company, Remington, and it was about the
we talk about Remington a lot, but what about Remington? I forgot.
Yeah, it was months ago, maybe a year ago or so, when Remington brought out the R51, which is a remake of the designed by Peterson, which was the Remington 51 handgun. And so anyway, I was bringing to your attention about that. I said, well, how can such a large company, and a company that's been in the firearms business for a long time, bring out a firearm and then not test it before they send it out the door because they had all these malfunctions? I mean, they had to. It was a big fail for them. And I brought up the idea to you that why would a company like that do that? I mean, especially, when you put out products, you have to have quality assurance and quality control.
Well, let me help you out. Let me help you out here, Mark. Have you heard my friend Sam Andrews on the radio with me here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sam was approached by Remington executives to come and help run the company and to clean up some of the mess. So these executives traveled to Missouri to interview my friend Sam Andrews, and Sam is well known in the firearms industry. That's why they approached him. That's why they flew from back east to is it Hartford, Connecticut? No, that's Colt. But regardless, they came to Missouri. So Sam was interested in talking to these guys, and he asked them some questions that would give him a baseline as to whether Remington would be salvageable or not. And from the responses he got, Mark, his opinion was that Remington was not salvageable because of the inherent corporate culture that had ingrained itself there. That in Sam's opinion, the corporate culture would stop him from making necessary changes to salvage Remington. Right. So if that helps, that's what was going on there.
Well, see, and what I'm bringing to your attention here is when you look into the history of Remington, Remington is the oldest firearms manufacturer in the United States. Mm-hmm. It is the largest firearms manufacturer in the United States because they bought up and consolidated a lot of other companies. I think like 16 companies, something like that. And not only are they the oldest firearm company, they're actually one of the oldest brands in the United States from the early 1800s.
Right. So,
and how is it? And when I was bringing this to your attention before, like a year or more ago, I think it was, that what if you want to take the right to bear arms down, is it possible that there might have been a certain group that infiltrated by investing in the company and then take it down from within?
No, you're making this more. Mark. I need to help you out here, my friend. Yeah. We'll segue to another industry that I live. I'm from St. Louis, and you can't live in St. Louis and not know many people that work for Boeing, which used to be McDonnell Douglas. And you're making this more complex and more devious than it is. Here's the real deal: corporate America. We're talking corporate America. My friends that work at Boeing, they talk about how people are brought in that have little, if any, understanding of what keeps an F-15 going at the speed of sound as opposed to what doesn't. What they do understand is numbers and cutting corners and efficiency. And that's happening in industry all over this country, is companies bring in people with little expertise in what the actual product is, but a lot of expertise in business sense and economics and money. So I think it's nothing more complex than that.
Well, here's what I'm bringing to your attention. Remington just filed for bankruptcy.
Well, it's Chapter 11 reorganization, and that's an act of desperation, obviously. And Chapter 11 reorganization has been done successfully by a number of companies. Hopefully, Remington will be successful and salvage it. If not, they'll be broken up and sold off to other manufacturers, and somebody will buy the brand. There's a lot of value. A lot of value.
Here's the point, John. The point is, did we not have some of the highest gun sales in the last couple of years, last several years before Trump came into office? I mean, they were through the roof. How do you lose $950 million when gun sales are through the roof? I mean, it's like.
Well, here's what was explained to me by Sam. Remington there's a term called resting on your laurels. The Remington 700 bolt action, for example, the Remington 870 pump action shotgun, just taking those as two examples, they were the top of the heap for a number of years, and rather than continuing research and development to improve on these excellent products, they let them continue generating cash while the rest of the firearms industry was looking ways to improve and make better similar products, which was cutting down on Remington's market share. So they were resting on their laurels and not spending money on research and development to improve existing products, bring out better products, and now they're paying a price for it, Mark.
So here's another little clue, and I know it sounds like conspiratorial here, but the other clue is the company that bought them and organized all these that bought up these other companies and consolidated them. Like I think it's like 16. The name of the company is Cerberus Capital Management. Cerberus. Cerberus is the name for the guard dog that guards the gates of hell. Now, who would make up a company name like that? I mean, that's just pretty. I mean, it sounds like it's kind of like dark, isn't it?
Well,
I mean, Cerberus, yeah.
Well, that may or may not mean anything. In the absence of any evidence, it's just a hint. Is all it is.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, how many people relied on Remington for a long time, and then they started. The quality control went to the floor, and it's like, how does that happen? I mean, they bought up Bushmaster. Now Bushmaster has reorganized its Wyndham weaponry, from what I understand, and but that's the original Bushmaster. Was that's the AR-15 that all these liberals are going after, right? So
right.
So anyway, just thought I'd bring that to your attention about that.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the call. Okay. I got the book in my hands here. Now, there was a hugely popular DVD presentation called The Secret that came out, I'm going to say about 10 years ago. I'm going to see if I can look that up. RET. And it was hugely popular. Yeah, they have a website, thesecret.tv, and hugely popular. Came out in 2006. A book came out, then there was a film based on that later, and the DVD, which I watched it, it all was featured on Oprah and a lot of mass media. They made reference in the DVD a number of times to a book without ever mentioning the book. Because I think primarily because they wanted to sell their stuff and not promote a century-old book. Well, I somehow determined the title of the book. I don't recall how I did it, but the title of the book is The Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier. The subtitle is The Master Code to Abundance and Achievement. Originally published in 1925, the original title was The Book of Life. It was rewritten and edited by the original author in 1947, 71 years ago, and republished as The Secret of the Ages. This copy is done by this paperback, standard size format. Let's see what's the page count on this thing? 401 pages. 401 pages. We'll go through some of the chapter headings here. Chapter 1, The World's Greatest Discovery. Chapter 2, The Genie of Your Mind. Chapter 3, The Primal Cause. There's how many chapters here? I'm not sure I'm going to go through all of them. I don't want to bore you. There's, looks like 34 chapters. Chapter 4, Desire, the First Law of Gain. This book can literally change your life in very, very positive ways. Seriously, it can. The principles here are timeless. The principles here were found and understood by the greatest men and women throughout history. There's multiple Bible quotations where the author makes a very convincing argument that one of the purposes of Jesus Christ and the New Testament is to relate these principles so that people could make use of them. So I think that if you can get I'm sure you can get copies on Amazon pretty cheap. I haven't looked it up recently, but even if it costs $20, I would still get it. I'll see if I can find a copy of it here real quick on Amazon. It's not a 400-page book is not a quick read, but it's not a difficult read. You'll get through it pretty quickly, and I think get a lot out of it. Let's see if I can look this up here on Amazon. The Secret. The Secret of the Ages. Okay, I need to put the whole title of Robert Collier. There we go. Yeah, you can pick up a copy on Amazon for $5.75 if you have a Kindle. You can get one at no charge for 99 cents. Audiobook, no charge if you get a free Audible trial with Amazon. It was kind of funny how this fell into place. A friend of mine, he goes to industrial auctions and various things of that nature, estate sales. And sometimes he brings back a box or two of books, and he brought back a box of books. And he said, John, go through these, see if there's anything you want. So I went through it, and I found several copies of the original way this thing was printed up in 7 volumes. I found maybe 3 or 4 of these volumes. I instantly recognized what it was, and I said to myself, oh yeah, this is what that DVD was based on. So I did a quick search, and I found the modern bound volume all in one book as opposed to 7 volumes. Looks like the edition that I've got here in my hand is going for, looks like $19 on Amazon. But looks like you can get just another similar, it's just a different format for $5.75 from Amazon if you're a Prime member. Here's our last break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the first day of May. Well, tomorrow we'll have Professor McKinney with us the first hour. Jim, as always, has some interesting comments on the events of the day. And, of course, his various projects like the wing generator are being down in Peru, investigating the ancient drawings there in the desert of Peru. And the second hour, we'll have my friend Jeff Nyquist. Jeff and I will be talking about geopolitical matters and the international communist conspiracy. This is something everybody needs to be up to speed on and aware of. Thursday, I hope Tim Spencer can be with us. Tim has had some health issues he's dealing with, but hopefully he'll be with us. Tom Berryhill will give us some updates on the energy cleaner. And Friday, Tom will be back with us to talk about emergency survival communications. Those are always interesting discussions. The second hour, we'll have my friend Dr. Phil Myers, my personal physician, giving us some updates on health. So it'll be a full week here, as always, at Republic Broadcasting. And Republic Broadcasting is a place where you can really hang out, get an education, get entertained, get informed, and just thoroughly enjoy yourself. Republic Broadcasting is a very special place. And be sure and tell your friends about the John Moore Show and Republic Broadcasting. We need to spread the word around, get our numbers up. It helps everybody to have more listeners to Republic Broadcasting. I was in a supermarket recently, and one of my listeners said, "Are you John Moore?" And I said, "Yeah, how are you doing?" So just to kind of spontaneously bump into somebody who's aware of me from my radio show is very gratifying. I'm not sure these numbers truly reflect the numbers that are actually listening to Republic Broadcasting. I really don't. My YouTube archives are now back up and running. We still have issues getting them downloaded, but it is taking place. And that'll get my numbers back up there also. It's maddening to have to deal with these issues, but it's part of the modern age. As this technology does require maintenance and does require things to be done to keep it functioning properly. I just saw here on Amazon the original 7-volume set that was published hardcover in 1926, The Secret of the Ages. I've got 3 or 4 of that original set. That's what got me to find the book I now have here in my hands. I thought to myself, I bet this book has been republished. And it turned out it had been. And I was so grateful that it had. I didn't have to go searching for books published more than almost a century ago to fill out the set. They're quite reasonably priced considering how old they are. You can get the entire volume, 7-volume set for only $36. Not that I would do that. You can get the whole deal for far less money than that. Okay, that's it for the day. Get your medical supplies, energy cleaning, essential oils. Now, like your firearms ammunition, never ever get the guns. Please do a fun, safe, productive day. God bless America.